At some point, I feel like we're going to be on the home stretch of actually having racing movies. They just keep pumping these movies out one by one, and I feel like with each one, it gets worse. And this one, oh man, it's bad. Hey everyone, my name is Ryan, and today on the channel, I'm going to be talking about a sports drama biography film called Race for Glory, Audi versus Lancia. Now this film, it was supposed to come out in February on a wide release, and they went ahead and moved up the film to January 5th in a limited release and decided to actually release this on VOD. The film is directed by Stefano Mordini, and he's done a lot of foreign films, but I've never seen any of his work before. The film stars Riccardo Scamarcio and also Volker Bruch, and the film is inspired by true events during a fierce rivalry between Germany and Italy during the 1983 Rally World Championship. Now this film, I didn't know a lot about this film. Lately we've been getting a lot of racing films, and with this film I was just really hoping it would be a better film than Ferrari. Positives I can say about this film is I did actually enjoy some of the shots where they actually have inside the car and they show like the driver and him turning left and right, shifting the gears. Stuff like that was really cool. Some of the stuff like where they explain like the engine and certain parts of the car and going into the logistics and stuff like that, that was really cool. But when it comes to anything else of this film, that's about all I can say as far as positives. The structure of the film was not really good. The film starts off with this woman actually interviewing the main guy from Lancia, and if you're not familiar with Lancia, that is Italy, and then you have Audi, who is Germany. And when she's interviewing this guy, she's asking him a lot of tough questions, and then we get into the story. Some of the scenes, when they're going from scene to scene, it's very choppy, it doesn't really make sense. Certain characters, they'll enter into the scene, and you're like, who the hell is this character? I didn't feel like there was much of a rivalry between either one, because they never really show them like fighting or really going too much into that rivalry. We know that Germany with Audi, they have tech and money, and they have the latest cars, they have four-wheel drive, stuff like that we learn about. And then we learn that Lancia, they have a really tough time actually producing enough cars, and this race is a big deal because if they win this race, they can start actually selling these cars and being the top marketed car on the market. So it's a big deal to Lancia to actually win these races, and they've been sitting out a few races as well, so it's a definite big deal to them. Another problem with this film is it doesn't feel like it really has a lot of energy. I feel like each character, they're very stiff in their acting, they're very uninteresting. I really can compare this to Ferrari and think, well, Ferrari wasn't that great of a film, but at least there were a few characters where I was like, okay, I can get a little bit into their acting. I think they're putting on a pretty good performance, but here I can't really say that any performance really stands out. Each character is just kind of there, and like I said, there is a lot of scenes where random characters will show up. Certain scenes when they're switching to different things, it's like, what is going on here? And the other problem too is for the audience, if you're actually following this rivalry and you're following the different races that they're actually doing, they don't keep score, they don't tell you what's going on, who's winning, what's going on. They don't even tell you in this movie. They do such a poor job of actually managing the racing in this movie. And speaking of the racing in this movie, it's pretty much non-existent. Through the first 45 to 50 minutes, you get a test track scene, which was very similar to Ferrari's structure. And then you get a little bit of racing here in between. It's cool that they have some off-road scenes and stuff like that, but the cinematography isn't really there. And you can definitely tell that this film is a lot more low budget. And I just felt by the time this film actually ended, I really got really bored with this film. I felt like when certain transitions were going to one scene, I was like, okay, what's going on here? And then some characters would just do their line, I'm just like, okay, like there's just no emotion with this film. It feels like it really has a mistaken identity as far as, is this supposed to be a racing film? Are we really supposed to be learning about each country and what they represent? And I feel like we get a little bit here and there, but there's just a lot of filler in this film. It feels very long, and it shouldn't feel that way. It should feel like a compelling story, and it's just not very intriguing through most of the runtime. The other problem with this movie too is if you don't like racing or you don't know about racing, racing, there is no explanation of how this race is actually broken down. If you don't know a damn thing about racing, how the heck can you actually get invested in a movie like this? And I thought that was a fail as well. The drivers that are driving in these vehicles, how can you even care about them because they have no personality to them? They don't really show much about them. We don't really know too much other than maybe their names. And even when they're just turning some corners, it's not like it feels like they're in fierce competition. It just shows pretty much a single car going through some turns, maybe a crash or two, which they're very minimal in this. And there's just not much other action in this film. The transitioning between those scenes to actually get to the racing, it's just very minimal. It's very boring. And unfortunately, even for a film like this on a low budget like it is, I just don't think that this film is probably that accurate as well. I've been reading around on the internet that this film isn't the most accurate. And I feel like if you're trying to get people into racing and to actually care about something really important like this, an event that actually happened, you have to do a better job. And this film, unfortunately, is just not very good. And as far as the score for this film, I would give it a 1.5 out of 5. Hoping that we don't get any more racing films for a while, because it seems like we're getting progressively worse with each racing film that comes out. I cannot recommend this. Don't waste your money on it. Just forget that this even exists and go watch a different movie. Maybe Gran Turismo. That was at least better than this, and at least has some characterization and a lot more better racing. Thank you guys for watching this review. Let me know down in the comments. Have you heard of this film? Are you going to check it out? Are you even interested in checking it out? And if you have checked it out, did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you just think it was kind of meh? Thank you guys for watching as always, and I will see you guys on my next review.